Sande Anfang is a San Francisco Bay Area poet and artist. Her work has been published in many journals, including Unbroken, Rattle, The New Verse News, and Spillway. Her chapbook, Looking Glass Heart, was published by Finishing Line Press in 2016. Road Warrior, Poems of the Inner and Outer Landscape, Finishing Line Press 2018, was a Lorien Prize finalist. Her full-length poetry collection, Xylem Highway, was published in 2019 by Main Street Rag. Sandra has been nominated for a Best Short Fictions Award, Best of the Net, and a Pushcart Prize. She is founder and host of the monthly series Rivertown Poets and a California poet teacher in the schools. Let's give Sandra a big round of applause. Yay!
Yay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Really exciting to be here. I think I usually read about once a year, if I remember, and it seems always to be in December, just a coincidence. So it's kind of fun way to end the year. Although we do have one more reading, which I'll be telling you about. I'm going to start with an old poem. I really tried to find some balance. Been writing some rather dour poems during this time, a lot of political poems, and I tried to mix it up with a few light ones too. This is called Laguna Creek, and I wrote it at a weekend workshop at Point Reyes. A black-eyed creek showed me its light-filled skin. I peered through to the world below, tranquil in places, not much on its mind, frenzied in others where it forded leaf plate dams of intricate design. I bent low for a closer look, touched my nose to its cheek. Decay swept me with its Appalachian broom. I remembered the time I played in a creek like this and rose festooned with a garland of leeches. Does water record our innocence? I fed a question mark to the current, felt its velvet ice snake up my spine. I raised a cupped hand to my mouth and drank the geohistory of California. I tasted the metallic tang of the 49er, eating beans from his pan with the salt of my sweat. I lent my ear to a nearby rock, felt rhythm run through me like a southbound train, heard the tinkling vibrato of high notes and the rumbling of the earth's bowels. The single tone of a didgeridoo pulled me down to dream time. What does the creek remember? How many "she loves me" have been murmured underneath her bridge? Does she tire of being Gaia's archivist, words and colors cycling through the bedrock of her brain? When I came to, a circle of Tibetan monks in ochre robes embraced me. From deep in their throats, they called me home. And I'm going to read, thank you, a couple of poems from my book, Xylem Highway. This is my full-length collection. Just a couple. And that was published last year. Let's see. This is called Tent Caterpillars. Tent caterpillars shrouded the maples of my youth in ivory bunting. White webs festooned their crowns, like circus tents hung round the town. I found them fascinating and revolting. Not malicious, though, not malignant, as my father did, who watched his precious fruit trees turn to tatted ash. In Oakland, I passed them under freeway bridges, lining concrete slabs, linked rows of tents like longhouses covering every patch of dirt, laundry strung across their flaps like prayer flags. My friend gives money to the women and the ones with dogs. How do I prioritize their bloody lack? Food, heat, a shredded coat to warm a winter back. I dream of tent caterpillars, ponder the thinness of the cloth that segregates us as I hunker in my house on the green side of town and turn up the heat. And the next poem is called Dreaming of Inertia. The river rolls on, never questions its tendency to eddy, need to submerge, urge to transcend its banks. In the slick mud chute, otters turn and dive and turn again, locked in yin-yang embrace, keeping time with rapids. Salmon swim upstream, dying to ascend the karmic wheel. Inertia is not in their vocabulary. Children chase tadpoles, climb conifers, clutch stout ropes to swing across the widest channels. Before there was philosophy, universities, books, their feet knew they could never enter the same river twice. The river rolls on, dreaming of inertia. You. And now I'm going to read a new poem. All of the rest are newish, but this is a new poem. It's a little bit but it's on my mind. And the desert, I lived in the desert for just 4 years, from the late 70s to the early 80s, and it has never left me. It's completely embedded in my body and psyche. And I do go to New Mexico every other year for a nice long visit. I have a close friend there. It's called Desert Dreams. I walk the wash like stations of the cross, genuflect at Coyote Bush, Roadrunner, Sandstone. I am a socket waiting to be flooded by the electricity of rain. I am the gap in the mouth your tongue cannot avoid. Beneath my feet, silt submits, molds my soles in the shape of solitude. Everywhere I look are spines and chalk outlines, exquisite articulation of the rattler, sen net of cholla carcasses. Pilgrim feet tramp the museum road. Ocotillo wave their red fingers like pubescent girls who trade their nickels for dreams at the 5 and dime. Saguaro's neon needles beckon and reject. Prickly pears strangle fence posts, wax apples run out the clock on pavement, hurtling down the rails like freight trains hell-bent for new horizons. Black beetles shuttle hapless flies across the sand, their coats high-gloss 50s hearses, breaded with desert dust. At twilight, the sky's a blackened eye, already sallow at the rim. Tumbleweeds are dervishes, portending chaos, while a rogue wind sculpts hoodoos on the mesa. Heedless of this opus, we sleep our leaden sleep, dreaming breathless dreams of hitching out, far from dead-end days in factory lines. The matched scuff marks of our boot heels bleed pulp fiction and penny dreadful. On torn vinyl soda fountain stools, we ride our tethered broncos, follow the footfalls of our fathers into taverns, stamping out the stale similitude of treaded time. This poem is an ancient rambler with stripped brakes, sliding through a 4-way stop. This poem is a car without floorboards we bought for $60 and abandoned in a field. This poem is the cradle of my inertia, a life cast off in vacant lots, its secrets penned in the braille of nail holes on the walls of jilted rooms. This poem is the rig that strikes the young surgeon driving to meet his firstborn, breaking the sound barrier in the hospital waiting room. Thanks, appreciate it. Now for something a little lighter. Synchronicity. We're walking down the hill to the little pond that always reminds me of McCullaugh's pool. It's dinky with a sprinkling of preteen boys dreaming on their fishing poles. Catch anything? I ask, though I know there's not a single fish in their buckets. The turtles are out in force, lining a log, like commuters waiting for the 6:40 bus. I start to tell Em a story about the time my 6-year-old appeared on stage with Bill Irwin. How the great clown whispered to him, both of them in identical harlequin suits, standing inside an antique trunk, as if it were just an ordinary day at the circus. "You never stick to the storyline," he says. "You veer off on crazy tangents." "My professor calls those bird walks," I say. "They're prized in the storytelling community." This is just a teeny white lie, not the bird walks per se, but the part about storytellers liking them. Then I crawl out on a narrow limb and tell him about the nuns' study, how the sisters who wrote about their lives in a prosaic style got early Alzheimer's. My story elements are lined up in my mind like those turtles on the log, only the line is more of a spiral, like the new traffic roundabout on Western Avenue. I finish the Bill Irwin story and circle back to the black and white glossies on my wall, how I came to own them. It's all serendipity, I say, and synchronicity, forgetting again the difference between them. Is there a difference? If you're patient, the story will come back to pick you up and walk you home, I say, like a good square dance caller, even when the metaphorical bus is late. And thank you, I've got two more. One I wrote a few years ago last time I worked the polls. Blessedly, I didn't do that in 2016. I would probably still be recovering if I had. It's called Ballot Box. I am voting for a new order. Excuse me one sec. I am voting for a new order where women wander where and when they wish, unafraid of men's predation. I am voting for a world where boys cast off the shackles of machismo, the burden of a father's hurt. I am voting for soup to line the bellies of the famished, hands outstretched in supplication. I am voting for the crushing of human cages, the raising of border walls, all walls, the building of bridges of hope. I am voting for flexible classrooms, children who are listened to and heard, teachers who can tune their ears to their own pain. I am voting for music in all its guises, the violin's vibrato, conga's thrum, wind whispering its secrets through the aspens. I am voting for azure rivers whose rapids catch the morning sun, reflecting their own beauty. I am voting for owls and ravens, towhees who feed at the window, the albatross on its 5,000-mile hodge. I am voting for cucumbers and tomatoes, the surprise of new growth amid the chaos, the scrub jay's harassment. I am voting for donkeys and pot-bellied pigs, the emu with her fearsome bill, even the pit bull defending its yard. I am voting for gentility, hushed voices, the decoding of hearts amid the deluge of words. I am voting for the breaking of mind shackles, the death of I and thou, the braided arms of personhood. Thank you. That would be a good stopping place, but I want to share one more. This is a Haiku Cycle. Some of you may know that I've been writing a book of haiku since January 1st, and I will finish it. I'm really sick of it, but I will finish it. And then I'll have a book of probably more than 400 haiku. But this is just 12 haiku. It's called 12 Haiku from a 40s Truck. 1, I've become the old Studebaker truck, rusted lilies round my bed. 2, parched by August heat, not a single blackbird lingers to grace my fender. 3, flat tires swollen smooth like the lips of a young girl, waiting to be kissed. 4, wind picks meat from my bones. On winter days, my planks thin like an old man's teeth. 5, today when you walked by, my carriage slung low, one visor flapped hello. 6, did you hear me wave? I watch you watching me, snap stills each time you pass. 7, every rust pit knows the roads and miles I've run, my stories penned in braille. 8, winter's gray raincoat, spider-webbed glass condenses, the mare's frosted breath. 9, quail hold a council on the high wire of my rails, chicks bring up the rear. 10, wide grin of a grill, dapper once, ogling beauty, one hand at my hip. 11, nights at the drive-in, Evie's rump engraved upon my cowhide bench. And 12, century of your growth, should I ever disappear, you may follow suit. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, great. Great poems.
Thank you. And thank you to Casey and Johanna, a rich smorgasbord of poetry tonight.